Cross the Line, AITA stories with Minecraft vibes.
Picture this. You pick up lunch for your entire office as a favor. Then your boss tries to force you to support a restaurant you hate, so you cancel everything. And chaos explodes. Welcome to Cross the Line. So here is what happened. Our guy, let's call him Marcus, bilingual specialist, works with international clients. Office hours noon to 9. Everyone else works 7:30 to 4:30. Marcus comes in later, passes restaurants on his way, starts picking up lunch for one or two people. Nice gesture, helpful, friendly, the favor grows. One person becomes two becomes most of the office. 14 people. Marcus sets rules, fair rules, only one restaurant per day. No exceptions. 2 restaurants are forbidden, moral principles, religious reasons, personal history, no orders from those places. Ever. Final rule, rounding up to nearest dollar plus $1 service fee. $7.28 becomes $9. Still cheaper than any delivery app, cash on delivery or prepaid weekly. For months this works. Mostly, 2 people complain, 1 coworker, 1 vice president, both want the forbidden restaurants. Every week Marcus explains, every week they push, every week he refuses. The rules are clear, the principles are firm, the boundaries are set. Then Friday happens. Marcus delivers lunches, gets called to the office. Vice president waiting. Accusations flying. Bullying, exclusion, discrimination. The coworker feels left out of the lunch club. The solution is simple. Marcus must include the forbidden restaurant, must violate his principles, must obey the vice president. Or else, Marcus listens, nods, says he will solve the problem, explains Saturday orders are already placed. Monday is when changes happen. The vice president accepts, temporarily, thinks he won, thinks Marcus surrendered, thinks power prevailed. Saturday morning Marcus sends a company-wide email, fax only. The vice president is forcing him to add forbidden restaurants. His moral and religious principles forbid this support. Effective immediately, the lunch club is disbanded. Monday, everyone is on their own. Refunds available for prepaid orders. See Marcus Monday for your money. No lunch pickups on Sundays. The office splits. Half support Marcus. Half are furious. The time saver is gone. The cheap lunches are gone. The convenience is gone. Because 2 people could not respect boundaries. Because a vice president thought he could bully principles away. Marcus never made real money. $15, $16 on best days, just enough to cover his own lunch. The service was never about profit. It was about community, about kindness, about helping, until help became exploitation, until kindness became coercion, until community became control. So here is my question. Would you cancel the service? Or swallow your principles for office peace? Drop your verdict in the comments. I am genuinely curious where you stand. And if you want more stories about workplace boundaries and moral courage, subscribe to Cross the Line. Until next time, think before you cross that line. The comments came fast and fierce. One person shared their own forbidden restaurant. Fascist chicken, they called it. Never gives them money either. They applauded Marcus for standing by ideals, for refusing bullying, for showing that exclusion can be mutual. If they did not want to be excluded from the lunch club, they should not have demanded exclusion of his principles. The commenter asked if Marcus would reinstate if they apologized. Marcus considered, then refused. Other commenters pointed out liability risks, transporting food, allergy dangers, potential blame. The lunch club was always a risk, always a burden, always a vulnerability disguised as kindness. Another commenter saw the core truth. Picking up lunch was never Marcus's job, it was courtesy. They could use delivery services. They could respect his rules. They chose neither. They chose entitlement. They chose demands. They chose to kill the golden goose with their own greed. The power play became obvious. The vice president and the coworker sometimes used Marcus, sometimes used delivery apps for the forbidden restaurant. This was never about access, never about inclusion. It was about saving money, about controlling Marcus, about proving they could make him bend, make him break, make him violate himself. Marcus updated the story, revealed details, hired for bilingual skills, irreplaceable without 2 people. One forbidden restaurant was Chick-fil-A. The other was personal. A franchise owner conflict, not the whole chain, just one location, one bad memory, one justified grudge. He clarified his flexibility. No issues with vegan food, Muslim food, Jewish food. He picked up from places with those options, visited them personally. The principles were specific, not prejudiced, not arbitrary, targeted, reasoned, defensible. The owner got involved. Marcus was cleared. The vice president was warned. The lunch club could continue if Marcus wanted. He did not want. The risk was too high. The trust was broken. The boundaries were crossed. Some bridges stay burned. Monday brought threats. The vice president demanded a solution by end of day. Consequences looming. Marcus contacted the owner again, refunds processed, no money held. His lunch was a fresh beef burger, eaten at his desk. Alone, victorious, exhausted. Tuesday the owner intervened. Meeting with Vice President and Marcus. The message was clear. Marcus is to be left alone. The lunch club can continue if he wishes. He does not wish. He had Taco Bell, not his best choice. But his choice, his alone. Wednesday business as normal. Grilled chicken sandwich from Zaxby. No pickups, no orders, no service, just work, just boundaries, just peace. Thursday, the angry coworkers returned, asked Marcus to restart. He said no, too much risk. The vice president remains. The toxic coworker remains. The environment remains poisoned. He brought Wendy's. Bacon cheeseburger, nuggets, frosty, $5 special. For himself only. Friday exploded. The coworker waited at the entrance. Racial slurs flying. Marcus's Arby's knocked from his hands. Kicked across the floor. The coworker left. Police waiting. Owner waiting. Termination delivered upon return from lunch. Justice served. Cold comfort. Marcus got his wish. Work from home restored. Bi-weekly office meetings only. The vice president's forced return to office undone. A $250 monthly allowance added for office supplies. PC upgrades incoming. The Arby's was lost. The freedom was gained. The math favored Marcus. So here is the deeper question. Was losing the lunch club worth exposing the racism? Worth removing the toxic coworker? Worth securing work from home? Or should Marcus have compromised earlier? Avoided the confrontation? Kept the peace? Drop your verdict in the comments. I am genuinely curious where you stand. The comments kept revealing deeper truths. One person saw the coworker's true motive. The lunch club was never the issue. It was control, a tool to dominate Marcus, to test boundaries, to establish power. The racial attack was always waiting, always present, always seeking an excuse. The lunch club just provided cover, provided justification, provided opportunity. The vice president's role was equally toxic, a glorified office manager with a fancy title, related to the owner by marriage, protected, entrenched, enabled. He forced the return to office, forced the confrontation, forced the conflict, then watched it explode, watched his subordinate attack, watched the racism manifest, faced no consequences himself, kept his job, kept his title, kept his power. Marcus's victory was partial. The coworker was gone, the work from home was restored, the allowance was added, but the vice president remained. The system that enabled him remained. The marriage connection that protected him remained. True justice would require the vice president's removal, his accountability, his exposure. But family ties are stronger than merit, stronger than morality, stronger than right. The daily lunch details became a meme, a running joke. The fresh beef burger, the Taco Bell mistake, the Zaxby chicken, the Wendy's special, the lost Arby's. Each meal marked a day, a stage, a step in the journey from kindness to boundaries to victory. Food as narrative, food as resistance, food as self-care in a toxic environment. Marcus's principles were tested and proven. The forbidden restaurants stayed forbidden. The moral fiber stayed intact. The religious convictions stayed firm, even when pressured, even when threatened, even when called names, even when physically attacked. The line held, the boundary stood, the self remained whole, the office dynamics shifted permanently. Half the coworkers who were furious became grateful. The service they lost was replaced by freedom from the toxic coworker. The convenience was replaced by safety. The cheap lunches were replaced by peace. The other half remained angry, blamed Marcus for the disruption, for the drama, for the changes, chose to ignore the cause, chose to blame the victim, chose complicity over clarity. Marcus's bilingual skills proved their value, irreplaceable, unique, protected by market reality even when principles were under attack. The owner knew. The owner calculated. 2 people to replace Marcus. Higher cost, more risk, more training. The math favored keeping Marcus. The math favored his principles. The math favored justice when justice aligned with profit. So here is the uncomfortable question. Would Marcus have won without being irreplaceable? Would the owner have cared without the business cost? Is justice only available to the indispensable? Or can principles protect everyone? Drop your answer in the comments. Best takes get featured in the next video. The story of Marcus spread beyond Reddit, beyond forums, into offices, into break rooms, into conversations about boundaries and bullying and the power of no. Workers shared it. Managers feared it. The phrase, "I will not support forbidden restaurants," became a mantra, a declaration, a line in the sand, but the deeper lesson is about the cost of kindness. Marcus started with generosity, with community, with helping. The office accepted, then demanded, then controlled, then punished. The arc was predictable, the arc was common. The arc was why so many stop helping, stop caring, stop engaging. The reward for kindness became exploitation. The reward for community became coercion. The reward for flexibility became forced compliance. The vice president's attack on principles was not unique. It happens everywhere, constantly. The demand that personal morality bend to organizational convenience. That religious conviction yield to managerial preference. That individual integrity dissolve into group consensus. The pressure is real. The consequences are real. The choice is hard. Marcus chose himself, chose his values, chose his soul over his service. The coworker's racism was the exposed nerve, the hidden infection revealed by conflict, always present, always waiting, always seeking opportunity. The lunch club did not create the racism. The lunch club revealed it, provided the excuse, the justification, the moment of attack. Without the confrontation, the coworker would have remained, would have festered, would have poisoned silently instead of explosively. Sometimes explosion is better. Sometimes exposure is healing. Sometimes the worst brings out the best. Marcus's work from home was not just convenience, it was safety. Distance from the vice president, distance from the toxic environment, distance from the memories of attack. The bi-weekly meetings were tolerable, manageable, brief. The home office became sanctuary. The PC upgrades became tools. The $250 became investment. The victory became foundation for future growth, future options, future escape if needed. The final comment celebrated everything. The lost Arby's, the gained freedom. The terminated racist, the exposed vice president, the owner who finally acted. The justice that arrived imperfectly but arrived. Marcus's story was their story, every worker's story, every boundary setter's story, every person who ever said no and paid the price and won anyway. So here is the final question. What would you have done? Would you have kept the lunch club and compromised your principles? Would you have canceled immediately without the warning email? Would you have done exactly what Marcus did, or something else entirely? Drop your final verdict in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about workers who chose themselves and won. Until next time, think before you cross that line. And when you do cross it with conviction, with principle, with the knowledge that some lines exist to be crossed, some boundaries exist to be defended, some selves exist to be protected. No matter the cost, no matter the pressure, no matter the consequence. This is Crossed the Line. Real stories, real workers, real courage. Subscribe and share your own. We are listening. Until next time. The aftermath of Marcus's story continues to resonate. Months later, the office still feels different. The vice president still holds his title, but his power is diminished. His credibility is damaged. His ability to bully is curtailed by the owner's watchful eye. The marriage connection protects his job but not his influence. He is a manager in name only, a figurehead, a warning to others. The coworkers who supported Marcus became allies. Friends even. They bring him coffee when he comes in for meetings. They ask about his home office. They share their own stories of boundaries and victories. The community he tried to build through lunch found different foundations, different expressions, different connections, stronger perhaps, more authentic certainly, built on respect rather than service. The coworkers who opposed him remained distant, polite but cold. They found other lunch solutions, delivery apps, brown bags, nearby restaurants. They survived without him, as they always could have, as they should have from the start. Their anger was never about lunch. It was about entitlement, about control, about the loss of convenience they never earned, never appreciated, never respected. Marcus's career advanced. New clients, new responsibilities, new recognition. The owner invested in him, trained him, promoted him in practice if not in title. The irreplaceable became indispensable. The bilingual skills expanded. New markets, new opportunities, new horizons. The lunch club cancellation was a turning point, a catalyst, a transformation from helpful employee to valued professional, from service to partnership. The forbidden restaurants remain forbidden. Marcus's principles never wavered, never compromised, never bent to pressure. The Chick-fil-A stays untouched. The personal grudge location stays avoided. The moral fiber that defined the conflict now defines the person. Known, respected, expected, his integrity is his brand, his boundary is his reputation, his no is his power. The story lives on, shared, referenced, remembered, in that office, in that industry, in online spaces where workers gather to share and learn and support. The lunch club that ended became the legend that grows, the warning to managers who would bully, the inspiration to workers who would resist, the proof that principles can prevail, that boundaries can hold, that no can be enough. So if you are reading this, if you are Marcus, if you are facing pressure to compromise, to bend, to break, remember, the lunch club is never just about lunch. The forbidden restaurant is never just about food. The principle is never just about principle. It is about who you are, who you will be, who you will become. Choose carefully, choose bravely, choose yourself. This is Cross the Line. Until we meet again.